This is Hugo Ferreira from Tantric, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Hugo Ferreira from the band Tantric. The band Tantric was formed when most of the members of Days of the New got a new singer. That was in the early 2000s, and Tantric has been going ever since. There's been a few lineup changes, but Hugo has been the singer the entire time. He's the lead songwriter. He's an amazing talent, and it turns out a super nice dude. Streetwalkers, you might remember that the original founding bass player for Tantric and Days of the New, Jesse Vest, is a previous guest of this show. Their debut album is one of my favorite albums, probably my favorite album to come out of the 2000s. And we talk a little bit about that. In this episode, we talk about where Hugo was born and raised and what got him into music. We also talk about how he found those other members and became Tantric. We talk about some of my favorite Tantric songs, and he lets me play one. And then also, he shares a couple of cool stories about the reason that they chose this specific cover that they did choose for the second album. I'm not going to spoil that because it's a really cool story. And then finally, we talk a little bit about the new album, The Sum of All Things, which came out on July 23rd and is available everywhere. Plus, he lets me play one of the tracks off that new album. Tantric is non-stop touring. Look it up. See if you can find them. If they're coming to your town, definitely go. It's going to be a hell of a show. If they're coming anywhere near me, I'm definitely going to go because I love this band. Ladies and gentlemen, streetwalkers, if you will, this is my conversation with Hugo Ferreira from Tantric.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Hugo Ferreira. Did I say that right?
Yes, very well pronounced.
Fantastic. Hugo, you may not know this. Well, you shouldn't know this. You are part of the soundtrack to my life, sir.
When you're old enough, that's what. When you're in a position, that's what happens.
So back in, let's say, late 2000, early 2001. I want to say it was late 2000 because I think it was like a Christmas thing for my company. I went to a steakhouse and I had never been to it before, and it was fancy and schmancy and all that. And I was sitting there with my workmates. Then all of a sudden, the air in the room changed. And this group of dudes walked past my table to go sit at another table. And I was like, what in the shit is going on here? Who are these fools that just changed the air of the room? So I grabbed their waiter and I said, who is that? And they said, oh, that's this new band Tantric. And I said, I've never heard of them. And they said, you will. That was right before your guys' debut album in 2001. Now.
Yeah, I loved when people took us out to dinner.
I think it was a radio station. The local.
That's all I gathered from that story. It's like, oh, we got free steak. I was like, gee, I wonder who bought us dinner that day.
Yeah, it was the radio station 99.5 KISS in San Antonio.
Oh, right on, right on.
And that was Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Now, that album is probably my favorite album to come out of the 2000s. Like I told, oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Like I told Jesse Vest, the bass player on that album, and the next one, I think, that album is what I still use to this day whenever I get new audio equipment. If it's a new car, I test out my stereo with that album. If it's a new stereo or a Sonos, I use that album to see how good it sounds, because the dynamic range of everything about that album blows me away. So again, thank you, sir.
Yeah, it was well recorded. Yes. I can't really take credit for that. I mean, we used a wide variety of instruments to give it some dynamics, but Toby, the gentleman who produced that record, I mean, he was a lot of that genius as far as the sonics of it. Two frequencies have to exist on their own, spot in space. And he was really good at doing that,
Nice. Well, Hugo, I like to talk about where people were born and raised. It kind of helps us understand how they got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born, man? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Angola, which is an African country. But at the time that I was born there, it was a Portuguese sovereign. And I really, literally was just plopped out there. And then I came to the States. So there isn't any, African influence on my music, per se.
Do you speak Portuguese?
I do. I speak fluent Portuguese. I speak Spanish, too,
Sure.
But Portuguese is my main secondary language. Yeah, so I was born there. And then I basically, from there, went to Boston. My earliest moments alive were in Boston. Then from Boston, right after graduating, going to college for a couple of years there, I went to Detroit, and I had a band there. And I had several bands throughout the whole process of doing that. And they were of all different genres. And believe it or not, they weren't all rock bands,
Sure.
So, and basically here I am. Now I kind of live in the world,
What does that mean?
Because I'm never really any place long enough for it to be very, very home to me, I'm never in a place longer than 3 days. And we tour probably more than any band that I know. So, that's what I'm saying. The world is my home.
That makes sense. So why music? I can't imagine your parents were musicians, were they?
Actually, my dad was a musician, not a pro musician, but he was a talented dude. He played accordion. He played these traditional Portuguese instruments. He was actually a really good accordion player, which is not a really easy job to do. But when I was a little kid, I remember my dad just kind of flipping it sideways. This was when I was 2 or 3. And I would just bang on the keyboard part of it, and then that evolved to me playing piano, which is my earliest instrument. I'm a pianist, then after that, I went to the conservatory for music there in Europe, and, just back and forth, soon after picked up the guitar and pretty much anything that made a noise. And I tried to master that. But then with this beautiful speaking voice, I decided, why not be a singer? I was like, this should work. I sound like a lawnmower. I should just try singing.
So has your voice always sounded like that? Like your speaking voice always sounded like that?
As you grow older, obviously the tonation changes a little bit. But yeah, pretty much. It was an odd puberty for me.
Right. So, I don't know, back in the late 90s, there was this band, Days of the New, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they got rid of their singer or he got rid of them. Doesn't really matter. How did you meet all those guys?
So basically, I was in a band called Merge, and we were managed by the same entity. We had even done some shows with Days before, but not much. We weren't attached. We didn't really know each other super well. We just kind of knew each other from that thing. And we've done half a dozen shows together. It just kind of just all worked out. So after Travis, fired his band, I was in search of the players part of my band, even though I had, it was always ever changing, and it was just kind of hard for me to get. So it just made a little sense to kind of try it out. And then the guy who managed both Days and us, he was like, all right, well, I'm going to send you down there. I think he sent me down there with $500. And we just jammed out for a little bit. And then shortly after that, we recorded 14 or 15 songs, just straight playing them live. We didn't even track them.
Really?
No, we went into a studio,
right,
but basically everything was recorded live.
Wow.
And honestly, that's what we got our deal off of. And this goes out to all the musicians out there. But we were so tight from just jamming 24/7 that I don't think it was really a deniable thing. The songs were there, and shit, we were giving people demos of us literally playing live, which is unheard of,
It is unheard of. That's amazing.
And we were all little kids, we're in our early 20s and shit.
Y'all are all the same age-ish?
No, I was a little bit older, but not by much. Being the mature adult that I am now, because everybody knows me to be. Back then, in retrospect, we were children, and it was really exciting time. I'll definitely never forget those moments. They were just great times. We did these things kind of like an old school way. We went out, we just like literally worked our asses for it. We played and rehearsed probably 6 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week.
Wow. That's a job.
Yeah. I mean, that was just rehearsing straight and just playing it. And there was like a local music store there that kind of just embraced us. Like some of the guys worked at Hooters. So like our dating pool was there too. So that was great. So like we'd go rehearse and then we'd date the girls from Hooters and then eat there.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, we had the hookup, dude.
That really helps.
So, thanks to Hooters.
Yeah, shout out to Hooters. This episode is brought to you by Hooters.
And the lovely girls who dated us.
Yes,
Yeah.
how very kind of them.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to the Player Series. I'm Gary Player, and throughout the series, we're going to take you through incredible stories, conversations with legends and current players, perspectives on current events in and around golf, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe to the Player Series on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
Let's get back into it.
In one of your songs, I think it's After We Go, you write all the lyrics, right?
Yes.
Okay. In that song, I think it's called After We Go, you say, we walk around like we don't live with consequence. Can you tell me what you meant by that?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, let me just answer that by saying that it has a more profound meaning now than even how I initially realized. I mean, it was a true statement then, but I didn't even know how deep the rabbit hole went. But we do. We make choices based on immediate needs. And that's all that generally is the thing that affects our decision-making in general. But, like I said, the more mature person that I am now has a different take. And especially on that song, which on that particular song, that's when Todd was still in. And when Todd was still in, he actually was another strong, me and him rewrote together a lot, So it was like a combination, credit where credit was due.
So I kind of get the impression that like that song could be about our throwaway culture where like, oh, I don't need this anymore, I'll just throw it away, or even how we treat each other now.
For sure. It's definitely about the culture and that our good traits and our bad traits also get wrapped up in this whole thing called life and tend to repeat itself because, we make choices not based on consequence, based on the effect of choices. What am I going to get from it right now?
Right. That makes sense.
More than a responsible weighing out. At least that's how I've been. But I'm horrible.
Sometimes songs take on a different meaning or as viewed through the prism of time mean something different to people as time goes on.
For sure.
There's a song called Where Do We Go From Here? I think it's called Where Do We Go From Here?
Yeah.
Great song. Was there something specific back then that you wrote that song about, or was it a general feeling of wonder?
Well, let's just say that when I write music, there's very few songs that I'm like so specific in the particular thing that it's written about. Even though it might be specific to me, my ultimate goal is to provoke emotion, with music. So in telling a story like that, when you're detailing too much lyrically, what tends to happen is that people tend to lose the relatability, whether because they can't attach their own characters. It's not believable to them because, the story doesn't have any relatability. So what I generally do is I know what that song is about, but it's about many, many things. But in particular, I wrote that song right when basically After We Go had finished. And I was just like, okay. And, I basically didn't have a band at the time. And I was just like, should I just continue with Tantric or, keep on going this way or that way? And that's basically like the climate that song was written in.
Gotcha.
But there was a lot of change going on, and I guess you'll never know, but there was many directions I could have gone. And many of them, I would like to say, could have ended me in worse places. And maybe some of them even could have ended me in better places. But that's where I was. And basically the internal question was definitely there.
I heard a famous actor one time. I think it was Jack Nicholson. I think it was him. Somebody asked him if he would do anything differently. And he said, if I turned down all the roles that I accepted and I accepted all the roles that I turned down, I would be in the exact same place that I am right now because that's where I'm supposed to be.
Right, exactly. And so, yeah, the hypothetical is not even a real thing because it's hypothetical, you know? There is no alternate rewinds that you can do. This life that we have is our life. And the only thing that's real is the present.
100% agree. Since we were talking about that song, where do we go from here? And it is one of my favorites. Couldn't I play that song on this episode?
You could.
Like, I have your permission?
Yeah, you could. And do I need my permission? I don't even know how that works.
Well,
no,
I would like to have your permission.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I said, hey, little girl, that look in your eye. You never did cry, you never did shed a tear. How does it feel that I'm not there to be the one to take the blame for your complaints, but I refrain from it? And how does it feel that I'm not there? 'Cause I've been open, constantly coping, relieving by doping myself. And we've been trying, we aren't denying. Let's just stop lying to ourselves. So where do we go from here? The future isn't clear. I keep on looking up, just hoping something will appear. So where do we go from here? Just take the wheel and steer. I keep on looking up, just hoping something will appear. So where do we go from here? I've been by your side, I made you laugh. I'm sorry that I made you cry, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Now we've come to a fork in the road, but I don't know which way to go. What now? I'm looking for a sign to show me. 'Cause I've been open, constantly coping, relieving by doping myself. And we've been trying, we aren't denying. Let's just stop lying to ourselves. So where do we go from here? The future isn't clear. I keep on looking up, just hoping something will appear. So where do we go from here? Just take the wheel and steer. I keep on looking up, just hoping something will appear. So where do we go from here? So where do we go from here? The future isn't clear. I keep on looking out, just thinking something will appear. So where do we go from here? The future isn't clear. I keep on looking up, just hoping something will appear. So where do we go from here? Just take the wheel and steer. I keep on looking up, just hoping something will appear. So where do we go from?
Thank you. I love that song. It's really, really dope. It's from the 2013 album, 37 Channels.
Yeah, which is a really weird record for a lot of people.
It is weird, but it's a great album.
Yeah, but it's like, whoa.
So before we heard that song just now, we were talking about, lyrics maybe taking on meaning through the prism of time. Does that happen to you? Do songs that you recorded 15,
become prophetic
20 years ago? Well, that, but also, do they mean something different to you, looking back?
Well, I think that the weight of them becomes different. You know what I'm saying? Meaning like, yeah, of course, it's like with a mature palate, with life experience, retrospect gives you, a good perspective on the amount of weight that the situation really carried, and some things that seemed like they were catastrophically earth-shattering and end of the world. As time passed by, those wounds healed and they became less of like the forefront of your emotion, whether it's from a broken heart or whatever, those things that take time to heal. But on the other hand, just songs about being responsible. Like you make these choices, you get these actions. First of all, in your early 20s, let's just say you're already not like super, super seasoned yet in life, but then to throw in a multi-million-dollar record deal and all those other things that come with it. And all of those things are just crazy. So to answer your question, they do definitely take a different meaning, more heavy or less heavy. That kind of answers your question.
It does.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
You know those popping phone handle things that you see on everyone's phones nowadays? Well, how would you like to put your logo on them? Does your podcast or band need new merch? Do you want to bring attention to your new book or film? Maybe you need something unique for your Patreon or crowdfunding campaign. Then visit thelogopop.com, where you can customize them with the logo of your podcast, band, business, art, school mascot, or whatever else you can think of. These are way more affordable than you may think at thelogopop.com. Mention where you heard this ad and get free shipping on your entire order. Remember, that's thelogopop.com to order your custom popping phone handles. That's thelogopop.com.
Let's get back into it.
Moving on a little bit, I think it's on Tantric's second album. You guys did a cover of Fleetwood Mac's The Chain. Why did you pick that song?
There's actually a funny story to that. So I was an anti-doing covers guy. I mean, I'd never played in a cover band. When I decided to be a musician, I was like, no, I'm just going to write my original material. I believed in my music. I believed in myself. I was just like, fuck that. I'm just going to do what I'm doing. And that's the way I'm going to do it. I gave no room for error. So when that record came out, the label, who was a great label to us, and, I'm really thankful to Maverick, they were just like, Hugo, we give you all your creative freedom, but the only thing we want is a cover. We want one cover on this record. And I was like, what? What the fuck? We're fucking Tantric. Why the fuck do we have to do cover? It's already been done right the first time. The whole arguments of covers, I'm like, that's bullshit, And a lot of bands were like starting their careers with covers, And I just felt like that was stupid. I understand doing one after, you're seasoned, but don't start your whole existence with a cover, To me, I didn't want to go that route. And they're like, well, listen, it's a non-choice. This is the thing we're going to enforce. You're going to have to do a cover, but we'll give you the freedom to pick the cover. And I was like, all right, these motherfuckers are going to make me do a cover. And we're like sitting in a hotel room and I'm like, oh, those bastards, like you're a fucking retard. You don't know that you're like, oh yeah, the label really just wants the best for you. And in general, sometimes, best for you is best for them. So I'm like, what we're going to do, guys? And everybody's like, yeah, we're passing around a 30. Like, hey, well, I'm going to turn on this alarm clock. First song that comes in here is a song we're going to cover. And then fuck them, and I was like, I was going to give them what they wanted. And in my mind, it was going to be like so clever. But then I turned on the radio and The Chain was playing. And I was like, you know what? We could actually probably do this really cool because we have harmonies and, and there's like another story that ties to it. Okay. So do you want to hear the other story that ties
Absolutely.
to it?
I think it's hilarious because they were putting the chain on you guys, but go ahead.
Right. Hold on. But this is my story about Stevie Nicks. Rewind 10 years from that day. I am living in Michigan. I mean, I just almost like a teenager, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I go and somehow I end up at a concert. And I think it was like the Pretenders. And I mean, I was like a kid. I didn't even know who they were. I was just like really young. And Stevie Nicks comes up to me and she gives me this necklace and it's got all these stars. And she's like, and I was probably like 15 or something. And she's like, you know what? I don't even know who you are, but you're a star. And I took that shit for like, I was like, yeah, that's right. Whoever you are, right. So now I feel like in retrospect, I feel real stupid because it was Stevie Nicks, right? I would should have been like, Hey. So anyways, fast forward to now we release that single, right? It's The Chain. And out of all the random things that I lose, which anybody who knows me knows that if you want something lost, just let me hold it for 5 minutes. Okay. So I still had this necklace that she gave me. It just happened to be in this like box of other stuff that I had. It's not like I put it there away, like, oh, this is Stevie. It just happened to have it, right? And as that single was coming out, I met Stevie Nicks again and gave her back that necklace. And I was
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And I was like, you said I was going to be a star. And I was like, my song's number 1, blah, blah. And I gave her back that necklace.
What did she say?
I don't think she remembered me.
She's like, who the fuck are you?
No, but
I've never seen this necklace before in my life.
Like, oh, another person did a cover of my songs. No, actually. And then Mick Fleetwood met me. He's like, I heard your cover, mate. And it was bloody good. You know, that was my British accent.
That's fucking fantastic. Well,
yeah,
I don't know if you guys are going to do another cover, but I would suggest doing Fascination Street for my own personal selfish reasons.
Okay. Well, I will put that in the queue. We've been doing this cover of live of like White Snake's Is This Love? And it really throws people for a loop.
Yeah, I bet.
But just because they had retarded hair back then doesn't mean those songs weren't so good.
That's a great song.
But it is time for a new one, so we'll put that one in the queue of possibility.
There you go. Yeah, by The Cure. Now, you guys have a new album coming out like next week, right? It's called The Sum of All Things.
It is.
What can you tell me about that album?
Well, it was written primarily during COVID.
Okay.
But some of the stuff I had, you know, like bits and pieces of, because I'm always writing. And I'll just write something on acoustic or you know, a little rig together, and I'll record a quick demo of it, you know, because I don't care how it sounds like on a demo form, because I know how it's going to sound in my head. So it doesn't matter if I record it very shittily. And shittily is a word, just so you know. You guys don't know that, but trust me, shittily.
Y'all heard it here first.
Yeah, shittily is a word.
How many songs are on this album?
I don't know how many are on this record right now, but you know, generally we do like 12 or 13 and then we save one or something like that. So it's right around there.
Okay.
To me, it becomes about the composition, not exactly about the numbers. I don't even know what number record this is. There's 14. There you go.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
So I don't even know if this is my 7th or 20th or 15th record, but I know it's more than, it's like right around the 10 mark or something like that, 10 or 11. Or
Why is it called The Sum of All Things?
I think that's an all-encompassing statement. And it's basically, this record is really kind of like, if you add up all of this shit together, each individual lives experience, you know, the guys that are in my band have been with me for quite a bit of time now, and they're fantastic. They're just amazing people, amazing players, you know, the shit. You couldn't ask for better. But it was just like, you know, it's just, I'm a pensive person, even though I joke around a lot. I'm in my head a lot. And I was just thinking about how one gets to this point. You know, 2 decades of making this music, more so than that, under the same moniker. And most of the songs, if not all of them, have the lyric, a sum of all things, in the song intertwined within it. Yeah. So there's like a whole bunch of like little layers of cool little, I always liked things when bands did that and had like little cool little connections and did you know and pop-up music stuff, you know?
Yeah, we call them Easter eggs.
Yeah, little Easter eggs. So
That's
it's got
rad.
a bunch of those, and it's got a bunch of like kind of like stuff you kind of got to be pensive and check out, and you know, like wordplay, and I like that. I mean, I'm proud of all my records, but you know, it's obviously a really great record, and you know, we did 2 videos for it. We're under Cleopatra Records. You know, they're just doing a great job. Can't complain about them. You know, I'm just here. I'm here in Kalkaska, Michigan right now. I just flew in here today just to do a show. And I mean, you can't really ask for much. I mean, I am on a daily doing what I love to do anyways, what I would be doing if I didn't have to do anything. And on top of that, I get a pat on the back every now and then.
Nice.
That's not a bad turn of events.
Well, that's not bad at all. Do you have a favorite song? I know it's like asking to pick your favorite kid. Do you have your favorite song off this new album? Oh, you know what? let's not answer that because that's a rough question. That's hard. Let me ask you this question, and feel free to say no. Is there a song from the new album that I can play?
For sure. I mean, the first single is called Living Here Without You. We shot a video for it. People can actually go and listen. And that song's available on Spotify, blah, blah, blah. And then we re-recorded and remastered kind of a couple of the older hits. Breakdown and Down and Out are in there. And we just redid them again. So it shows people that I can actually still sing. I actually think I'm a better singer now. But yeah, I think it's a great record. You know what I'm saying? They're all beautiful to me. They're like children.
And what's the name of this song again?
Come over, be like, the middle one's the cute one.
Yeah, the older one's fat and ugly.
Right. Yeah, right.
So what's the name of that song again? I'm going to put it right here.
Called Living Here Without You. And it's the first single.
I'm wrapped around your finger. That's where you will find. And I can't remember. I was left behind. I'm wrapped around your finger like I was before. But you can't remember. I'm at your door. But I can't be the one who sits here all alone. You don't know that I exist here, but I'm home. I'm waiting for you to come around. There's nothing I won't do to hear the sound of your voice as it whispers my name. I'm living here without you, but it is not the same. I'm living here without you, driving me insane. I'm living here without you. Who's the one to blame? Yes, the sum of all things I'm sharing with you. I'm remembering this short time with you. And this misunderstanding where they cut our life short. There's no happy ending in this story. But I can't be the one who sits here all alone. You don't know that I exist here, but I'm home. I'm waiting for you to come around. There's nothing I won't do to hear the sound of your voice as it whispers my name. I'm living here without you, but it is not the same. I'm living here without you, driving me insane. I'm living here without you. Who's the one to blame? You don't have no problem with your body, you gotta break some. You don't have no problem with mine, you better make some. Time behind the line of a war that you never face up. Separate by the truth that was told, you gotta face them. So we are the sum of all things. It's the life and everything that brings. I'm wrapped around your finger. That's where you will find. And I can't remember. I was left behind. I'm waiting for you to come around. There's nothing I won't do to hear the sound of your voice as it whispers my name. I'm living here without you, but it is not the same. I'm living here without you, driving me insane. I'm living here without you. Who's the one to blame? I'm waiting for you to come around. There's nothing I won't do to hear the sound of your voice as it whispers my name. I'm living here without you, but it is not the same. I'm living here without you, it's driving me insane. I'm living here without you. Who's the one to blame?
But like, there's definitely a variety of for everybody there. I mean, I always like to throw a nice little, the tantric power chord, power ballad type of song, even though ballad is like, ballad, it's always about these things, but, kind of a slower tempo or like epic type of sound and stuff I like to do with time signature changes and timings, and just so like musicians can appreciate it, be like, oh, there's some technique that's involved in there, because, that's where you get your street cred from other musics.
That's true. That is true.
If you don't get it from everybody like going, oh my God, I love your song. You get it from like musicians like, I think your band's gay, but I really dug that fourth riff, And then you're like, oh, the guy likes this. He calls us gay, but it's okay.
Hugo, I know that you are on a bit of a time crunch here, so I want to thank you. And real quick, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media?
They can find me at Tantric Hugo or Facebook.com/Tantric, and it's official Tantric on Instagram.
Awesome. Is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about today?
No, but I do say this. I'll leave my leaving words with this. Whether it's our band or any form of art or music that you like, if you like it, support it, because it's coexistent with you and only existent because of the people out there. So
I've said that a lot on the show, especially during COVID where people weren't allowed to perform.
Yeah.
Guys, if there's a band, if there's music out there that you like, go support them. Buy a CD, buy a shirt, whatever it takes, because if they can't pay their bills, then they can't make more music for you to enjoy.
Right, exactly.
Go out and do that.
It just basically dies in that fountain of originality and creation just has to end right there. So support all art. The better traits of humans that we have is being artistic and creative. So we should probably be pro that.
Absolutely. Tell everybody where they can go to find tour information. You guys are touring all over the place.
Again, if you just go to the
social media
Facebook.com/Tantric, that'll tell you. But, when I'm looking for my own tour dates, I just Google Tantric tour dates.
Awesome. Hugo, thank you so much, man. You have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy that tour.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2001 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.